The World Food Programme says a handful of bakeries in south and central Gaza have resumed bread production after almost 100 humanitarian aid trucks entered the territory last night. Aid agencies say they're in a race against time to prevent widespread starvation. Palestinian officials said the deaths of 29 children and elderly people in recent days can be linked to hunger.
In the darkness brought by a 3-month blockade, some aid began arriving in Gaza last night, where security concerns remain high in an increasingly desperate situation. Flour among the food supplies carried into the territory, where bakeries worked into the night, making bread to be distributed by aid agencies.
After more than 2.5 months of border crossings being closed, certainly, the humanitarian situation in Gaza is in dire condition. What we need to do is to continue to bring humanitarian aid, advocate for the crossings to be open, and make sure that the food goes to the ones mostly in need.
And there is no shortage of need in a place where most have been displaced multiple times since the war began. As humanitarian agencies say, a trickle of aid in the last 24 hours is not enough. Palestinian officials said recent days had seen deaths directly as a result of starvation.
We had info that more than 29 young children, infants and elderly lost their life because of starvation-related issues.
A medicine warehouse destroyed in an Israeli bombardment in Jabalia this morning, as medical supplies remain perilously low. The Palestinian Red Crescent said today that its ambulance fleet is down to a third, warning that they are running out of fuel and running out of time. Fiona Mitchell, RTE News.
The United Nations has sought to clarify widely reported remarks made by its humanitarian chief on Tuesday that 14,000 babies would die in Gaza within 48 hours. In a statement to the BBC, which broadcast the original interview with Tom Fletcher, the UN said they were pointing to the need to get supplies to those suffering from malnutrition as soon as possible, ideally within the next 48 hours. The UN highlighted a report that said over 14,000 cases of severe acute malnutrition were expected to occur in children between April 2025 and March 2026, a period of 11 months, not 48 hours. And staying with that story, we're joined now by Fawaz Gerges, who's Professor of Middle East Politics and International Relations at the London School of Economics and Political Science. Professor Gerges, thank you for joining us on 6-1. It's really hard to watch those pictures coming out of Gaza, and reports tonight saying 29 people have died of starvation in recent days. Some aid is getting in today, but it's clearly nowhere near enough.
Not at all. A drop in the ocean. United Nations humanitarian officials said. The World Health Organization made it very clear today. Starvation is widespread in Gaza. United Nations officials have made it very clear that famine now is at a critical stage in Gaza. Yesterday, 87 trucks entered Gaza after more than 10 weeks with nothing, no water, no food, nothing at all. Today, according to Palestinian officials, not even a single truck has entered Gaza. On average, the 2.2 million Palestinians need on average 500 trucks a day. Yet since the 2nd of March, no food, no water, no medicine. So you can imagine the situation. Thousands of children, according to UNICEF, are basically on the verge of dying, not to mention that 29 children have already died in the past few days, according to the Palestinian minister, who's basically in Ramallah, not in Gaza.
Now, we've seen strong words from Israeli allies like France, the UK and Canada, but just how much pressure is that putting on Israel? Or is it really just action from the United States now, the only thing that could realistically change the course of this?
Well, so far, we have not seen any pressure by President Trump on Netanyahu. Donald Trump is the only world leader who could end the war if he basically calls Netanyahu and says enough is enough. But so far, no pressure whatsoever. Yesterday, Benjamin Netanyahu responded to the calls of the international community and the European Union by trying to review the economic relationship with Israel, and also the statement by France, Britain, and Canada, by dismissing the criticisms of Israel and making it very clear. He repeated his overarching strategy. He said, we will control the entirety of Gaza, and we will make sure to bring President Trump's vision, which is the displacement of the entire population of Gaza. That was Netanyahu's response to criticism and threats by the European Union and other Western nations in the past few days.
Just looking at that attack on those two young diplomats in Washington last night, Israel is saying it's as a result of the growing international pressure on the country and anti-Israeli sentiment. What's your response to that?
Well, I mean, the French Foreign Minister responded to the Israeli minister, who basically blamed criticisms of the Israel's war in Gaza for the attack in Chicago and for the rise of anti-Semitism. The French Foreign Minister not only dismissed what the Israeli Foreign Minister says, but he said it's outrageous. What Israel is trying to do is to weaponize the tragedy of the attack, the horrible nature of the killing of the two Israeli diplomats in Chicago, instead of addressing the concerns of the world community, the United Nations, Europe, Ireland, the United Kingdom now, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Netherlands. I mean, the entire world is calling on Israel to stop this catastrophic war and allow humanitarian aid to reach 2.2 million people who are on the verge of starvation. Israel now brags about the fact it's using starvation as a weapon of war in Gaza.
OK, Fawaz Georges from the London School of Economics and Political Science, thank you for joining us on 6-1 this evening.